Okay, I think we can start now. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on your time zone. I know one of us here is joining from the Philippines and it's about 12 a.m. his time. Well, thank you so much for your effort and for joining. You're all welcome to the July 2024 edition of our webinar at Clan Initiative. For those joining for the first time, this is Cleaner and Healthier Nature Initiative, popularly known as CLAN Initiative. And this is one of the things that we do at CLAN Initiative. We're a youth-led nonprofit organization that promotes environmental sustainability and public health across communities, currently in Nigeria, then maybe soon to the rest of the world. So this is one of the things that we do. We have a monthly webinar, which is a virtual education platform where we bring guests like the amazing person that we have on our edition today, and they come to talk to us about climate, sustainability, public health, energy, and many things that we need to know. This is not only for scientists or for the nerds or for the environmentalists. We all need to understand and know about all of this. So without much ado, I would like to bring up our guests. But before then, I'd like to read a very, very um, powerful bio. It's very, very loaded and heavy, but I'll read a few points from our bio because of our time. Then I'll bring her up. Dr. Oduye Aishat is a medical doctor and environmentalist who specializes in climate education, capacity building, and climate advocacy for young leaders. Our work is guided by the principle that no one should be left behind in the pursuit of environmental sustainability and public health. She talks about SDGs, including 3, 13, 14, and 15. How many of us know or are familiar with the SDGs? Those are the Sustainable Development Goals. And Dr. Aishat's dedication to community outreach is evident in her extensive volunteer work. She has conducted over 30 outreach programs across 15 Nigerian states, educating the public on environmental sanitation and waste management. She has partnered with organizations such as Earth Day organizations, Recyclers, Fair Plastic Alliance, UGC SDG Rooms. Through these partnerships, she has moderated panel discussions, webinars, and workshops, educating and training over 2,000 change makers on environmental health, sustainability, climate advocacy, and youth empowerment. And I will run to the last paragraph because of time. Our work focuses on illuminating the challenges faced by marginalized communities due to the climate crisis and creating pathways to support and spotlight solutions by and for young people. With over 5 years of experience, she has demonstrated skills in policy writing, problem solving, and project management, spanning both local and international context. Thank you so much, Dr. Aisha, for joining us today as our guest speaker. One thing is our vision at Clan is environment and public health, and it's very rare to find a medical doctor that is so passionate about environmental and health initiatives at the same time. I call her the green doctor. So thank you again, Aisha, and welcome. So if you're ready, you can come online now, and yeah, let's have you.
Thank you so much. I'm really grateful for that introduction. I'm sorry that it was long. So thank you again for this invitation. Before I start though, can you see my screen? I should confirm if you can see my screen and if you
Yes,
can
we
hear
can.
me well.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you. So, hi everybody. I'm Dr. Aishat Oduye, and I'll be taking impacts of plastic pollution and the roles of youth in climate advocacy today. So, just one second, please. All right. So, coming here with violence. You mentioned that I'm coming here with a lot of violence,
Oh,
right? And it's sad, but it's true that you have plastic inside of you. And I'll say this quote by somebody that said, not only are plastics polluting our oceans and waterways and killing marine life, it's in all of us and we can't escape consuming plastic. So that's very unfortunate. But I have to tell you now that you have plastic in you. So he's done a fantastic job introducing me, but I already made the slide. So hi everyone. I'm Dr. Aisha Oduye, like I said. I'm a medical doctor, a youth advocate, a climate justice advocate, and a project manager. It is lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me once again. So let's get right into it. Right. Introduction to plastic pollution. So plastic pollution is basically there's a lot of plastic, more than we can, we can recycle or more than we can degrade or more than we can handle in our environment. That's basically what it is. That's what plastic pollution is. Right. So when it was invented, it was a fantastic way to a new method to package our goods. It was a fantastic method of, for convenience for everybody. Everybody was using it. We're all using it everything now. I'll be going into different types of plastics and their presence in our everyday lives, right? So according to UNEP, 300 million tons of plastic is produced every year, and not all of it is recycled. About only 9% of plastic is recycled. So if you look at my slides at the bottom, you'll be seeing some quotes and facts about plastic pollution. I don't want to spend too much time on one topic since I'm taking two, but it's important to note that over 300 million tons of plastic is produced every year, and only 9% of that is recycled. 1 ton equals to 1,000 kg. An average man will weigh 75 kg, right? So you can imagine how much plastic is produced every year. And with every production, with every high amount of plastic that is being thrown into the society and thrown into the environment, we're not trashing it well, we're not recycling it well, right? So there's a lot of problem and it's accumulating in our environment. So that's what I'm going to be talking about with impact. Right, so there are different types of plastics, and it's very important to notice. This is where I really, when I found out about this, was really interesting to me. And I tried to come about climate change from the health side of things. So I'm a medical doctor. So I sort of see the influence and the impact of plastic pollution on human health, right? So the macroplastics are the ones everybody use that your nylon bags, your containers, your milk bottles, your shampoo bottles, your ice cream tubs, and all of that, right? Those are macroplastics. So there are LDPs, that's high density polyethylene, the low density polyethylene. The PET bottles are polyethylene, I think tetraphosphate or something like that. But anyways, the scientific name is not our concern. The point is, it's broken down from petroleum, right? And the process of making plastic is very, very rigorous, and it causes air pollution. I'll be talking about that later, right? But it's something to note. Even the production of plastic is polluting our environment from the very first instance. So there's something called microplastics. So microplastics can either be primary or secondary, right? They're divided into two major categories. So if you look at my screen up here, I don't know why you can't see my cursor. Yeah, anyways, if you look at my screen up there on the top right, you'd see those are examples of microplastics, those tiny ones that he's holding in his arm like this, right? So sometimes they are primarily made to be small. These microplastics are primarily made to be small, right? You see them in your toothpaste, is present in your cosmetic products, the bottles you use to wash your face, you can see that below, your deep clean, all of these cosmetic products and skincare that we use, they have micro beads in them. Those are microplastics, right? So they are produced to be small. That's their function, right? Then we have secondary microplastics. These ones are broken down. Either they degrade normally or they degrade, biologically, right? So they basically just become smaller and smaller till they become microplastics. And there's something called gyres in the ocean, which is a collection of plastic. We have about 8 right now in the world, right? And some other small collections. So with the current of the ocean, when you dispose plastic inappropriately into the ocean, with the current and all the normal disasters that happen or normal occurrences that happen, these plastics tend to be broken down into tinier pieces. And unfortunately, fish tends to think that plastic is food, so they tend to ingest them. When they not ingest, obviously there's no nutrients that are gotten from the plastic. So all of that will cause them to die and other causes. Again, I'll talk about that later. Then the third type is nanoplastics. Nanoplastics are less than 100 nanometers in size. And these ones are the ones that are able to enter the body, they're able to enter human cells. They are found in breast milk, found in animal blood, human blood, and they are found in placentas. So unfortunately, our kids are not even safe from nanoplastics. So there was a documentary that was done a couple years back, and they figured out that our canned drinks that I think is just metal is actually lined with a layer of plastic inside. Your rubber toys that you give your kids, that you just buy rubber toys, is also lined with plastic. I can't remember the scientific name. There's a type of plastic that is used to line. So when kids suck on these rubber toys, rubber bottles, they are affected that they are consuming nanoplastics basically. Okay, so microplastics, right? So you can see the cycle basically. So when you throw your plastic bottle into the ocean, the currents and the waves or plastic are even clashing with each other, they tend to break down. Like I said, fish would think it's food because it has this nice smelling scent that they always think is food. So they eat it. Then a larger fish will eat that. Then larger fish is what we will eat, put on the table to eat, and we're injecting nanoplastics or microplastics from that, right? There are also other ways, like I mentioned, that primary plastics that are made primarily for their purpose to be small. They are found in toothpaste, your cosmetic products, and so on and so forth. So there are different types of sources and fates of micro and nanoplastics in the environment. But I want to make sure that I've not lost anybody. So do you guys understand what I'm saying? Is I need a response. I also like a very, interactive session. So are you guys following me?
Yes, we are following you. Some people here are not like very scientific. So if you have any
That's what I'm
questions, please, our participants, if
Okay.
you have any question or if any of the words is too heavy, please feel free to raise your hand or unmute. Yeah.
Yes, please. Thank you so much for highlighting that. That's very important. Feel free to also draw me back even to take something else again. Okay, thank you for responding in the chat as well. So there are different sources and fates of micro and nanoplastics in the environment. I went into detail to try to tell you that whether we like it or not, everybody has ingested plastics, right? I forgot to even mention the quotes below. So micro and nanoplastics are in our organs and they can enter our cells. There could be more plastic in the fish than fish in the ocean by 2050. This is something that we need to pay attention to. This is something we're trying to avoid as environmentalists, as climate activists, and so on and so forth. So this is something we need to pay attention to. By 2050, there can't be and there shouldn't be more plastic in the ocean, but research has said there might be, so we should also put an eye out for that. An average person would eat 70,000 microplastics each year, every single year. That's very scary. When I found out about that, that was very scary. So yeah, I did want to go into town with this because you go into the socioeconomic effects, the your health impacts, the environment effects, and stuff like that. So I just listed a few examples of all of those effects, right? So number one, air pollution. I already mentioned this earlier that when plastics are being made, the rigorous conversion of petroleum into plastics always leads to release of these gases into the atmosphere that will cause air pollution. And then water pollution, the improper disposal of plastics will cause water pollution. And then soil pollution as well. Microplastics and nanoplastics will prevent you from germinating what you need to germinate from the soil, right? So plastics are also endocrine disruptors affecting hormones. So let me break that down. for as a woman, right? As a woman, as a man as well, we all have hormones. We have cortisol, which is the stress hormone, testosterone, which is the male hormone. Then you have your normal hormones that women have as well. I don't want to go into detail, but basically, the endocrine cells or the endocrine system is the one that helps you break down, or is the one that helps you release these hormones that function around your body. So without your hormones or without your endocrine system, you would not survive, right? But obviously people are, but it's not a very convenient lifestyle, right? So plastics disrupts the work of the endocrine system, which affects hormone production and the action of hormone in the body, right? So because of this, so imagine cortisol as a stress hormone. When you are going through stress, you are releasing a lot of cortisol to be able to handle that stress. So imagine you have so much nanoplastics in your body, which is actually what's happening, because there's been an increase in the rate of mental health diseases. There's been an increase in the rate of infertility issues, of cancer, obesity, and they can tie all of this to plastic pollution, right? And the ingestion of plastic, right? So that's one of those are one of the major health impacts of plastic pollution. Also, they cause death of marine life by blocking their paths. Either they are blocking their paths to food, literally tying them down, or they ingest thinking it's food and they get no nutrients from it, but they are full, right? And they mistake plastic for food. They physically gets caught in plastic and they die from that, right? And they also cause environmental effects because flooding, natural disasters. We can see what's going on now with Nigeria and Lagos with flooding that happened last time. We can see what's going on with the temperature and climate change. Plastic has a very, very huge part to play with this, right? So plastic is in the air we breathe, is in the water we drink, is in food, snow, is in the soil, and most importantly is in our bodies. Unfortunately, I'm so sorry to break this news to you, but it is happening and it is what's going on now. And we've known that nanoplastics can accumulate in the body. So it's important to watch what you eat and how you eat. Check your carbon footprint. I'll be talking about that later on as well. On that fact, 99% of seabirds will be eating plastic by 2050. So these are some pictures to sort of stimulate you, because when I saw these pictures, my passion grew again. When I was preparing these slides, I started to have more passion again for plastic pollution and environmental health, because when it's not natural disaster, it's not earthquakes, it's not tsunamis, we're the ones causing these things by ourselves by producing things that are harming us and harming wildlife, right? So this picture of a turtle. So I think it's the whale. Yes, it's the whale. The elephant, you can see it's inside the ocean, it's on land, it's everywhere. And I can't remember the last time I went to the beach and I didn't see plastic in the ocean, I didn't see plastic on the sand, and it's very unfortunate. But plastic pollution is affecting everybody and everywhere. Nobody is safe from plastic pollution, unfortunately. This is another picture of an animal or a turtle being stuck in the net. You can see a seahorse holding cotton bud. And you can see the seagull as well. It's very, very unfortunate, right? And these are things that we're trying to fight against. We should reduce the production of plastic pollution, of plastics. We should also find better ways of sorting out the trash and sort of trashing plastic. That's one of those are the aims of environmentalists and people that are trying to beat plastic pollution. Right. So I've told you what the problem is. What's the solution? So number one, refuse single-use plastics. Single-use plastics examples would be your styrofoam. In Lagos State, thank God, they've banned styrofoam plastics. Those are the worst kind. They don't biodegrade. It takes regular plastic about 1,000 years to degrade. Now imagine styrofoam that doesn't even degrade at all. It just keeps on breaking down, and gets into microplastics and nanoplastics, and then it's in your body, right? Which is not obviously what we want. So refuse single-use plastics. Don't use plastic that you cannot reuse, right? Secondly, reduce the amount of plastic that you use. When I go shopping or when I go to the grocery store and maybe I forget my bag and I'm there and I have to carry a lot of stuff and they want to double bag, why do you want to double bag? Please just give me one bag. I'm going to probably enter transport from somewhere soon. I'll put it in my backpack if I forgot something else. You get? So like, these are little ways that you can even help to reduce plastic pollution, right? So Reuse, very, very important. In my house, I think all Africans do this. Where when you go to the freezer, inside your ice cream plastic is pepper that is there. That's actually a very good way of beating plastic pollution because they are reusing their plastics, and this is something that we should emulate and we should do as well. Recycling, to sort out your trash before you throw it out, and try to reach out to recycling companies. There are a lot of companies, a lot of organizations. Again, I'm speaking for Lagos, Nigeria. I'm sorry. I'm speaking for Lagos, Nigeria, because that's where I am and that's where I stay. So I know a lot of what's going on here. But there are a lot of recycling companies around you if you take time to do the research, right? There are a lot of NGOs that are doing initiatives that would help you come and get your trash from your house or your doorstep, right? So they are also be open to alternatives. That's my last point. Be open to alternatives. So eco-friendly packaging, use wooden spoons, wooden plates. You don't have to wait for somebody to do these things. You can start with your own. When you want to pack your kids' food to school, you shouldn't use plastic. I don't advise that you use plastic, right? So you want to take options that would reduce the impact of your own carbon footprints in the environment. Okay, so that's the end of my first topic. Do you have any questions before I go to the second one? Are we all following? Because I need 3 answers in the comment section before I go ahead to the second topic, which is very, very important as well. So are we together? Just 3. You don't have to have a question. You can just tell me we're together or just put your favorite emoji in the comments. Yes, thank you, Ayomide. Oh, thank you guys. I've seen 3 now. Thank you so much. This is great. I'm happy that we're all together. So what are the roles of young people or youth in climate advocacy? So before I should start, obviously, what's climate change? Climate change divided. Okay, there's a question. Yes, it would. Now there are other that's a very good question. Thank you very much for that. Those are one of the alternatives, like I mentioned, right? There are other alternatives that are coming up called bioplastics that has not reached Nigeria yet, right? So in as much as that would affect and we're trying to reduce, deforestation, right? It's also important that we can plant trees again, but we cannot get rid of plastics. I mean, it's more of like lesser evil, and that's what we have available for now, right? I know I attended, there's research going on right now that they're using bioplastics that can degrade, right? I hope so. I hope soon it comes into the African continent and we can start to use that. But there's also, those are other ways that they're trying to beat this question that you mentioned, right? But for now, right, it'd be better if you purchase wooden utensils or using wooden products rather than plastic, right? It's more of lesser evil, that sort of thing. Is that fine? Okay. You're not responding. All right, I think I'll just move ahead. Hopefully,
Yeah.
you can give me a reply.
Yeah, I think
right?
he sent an emoji.
Okay.
Yeah. Hello, hi, Aishat. It looks like you are muted.
I'm sorry. I was
Yeah.
already defining and anyways, after the game, thank you for letting me know. Okay, so climate change defined by United Nations is basically a long-term shift, right? In either the temperature or weather patterns, and everybody's going through the effect of climate change at the moment. The weather is hotter than it should be. You are seeing the seasons mixed up. Like in Nigeria here, we're seeing rain very earlier in the year, which shouldn't be, right? Then you have different, you saw what's happened in Saudi Arabia with the pilgrimage, and people died of heat stroke because it was too hot. These are the effects of climate change and so many other things. Wildlife, food insecurity is causing a lot of things, right? So it's a very, I want to break it down and not fly over your head, right? So with the effects of climate change, there's something called climate injustice. Now we're bringing it down to human rights, how it affects me and you. There are different effects of climate change. It affects there's mental health issues. People have eco anxiety, they have trauma from climate change. So people are going through with IDPs that are having to leave their homes because of the flooding and the effects of climate change and all of that, right? So there's climate injustice. That's when there's an inability of basically climate action or whatever climate change is causing on the minority group, right? I'll define what climate justice is. But all of that, just keep that at the back of your mind, right? So the roles of young people, the first strategy is education to advocacy, second strategy is policy changes, and third is legal action, right? So what are the types of climate advocacy? You have personal reduction, measuring your own carbon footprints, right? I hope I'll be able to share this link. I hope you will have access to the slides. So I put a link in the slide so you will be able to, check your own carbon footprint. Because there was one thing that one of my NGOs did one time, that you calculate how many Earths you need, right? So people were getting 62 and 42 extra, because the ones who were living obviously would go down if they continue to live the way they were living, right? So you could just go on Google yourself and just write measure my carbon footprint. So you see how you can reduce your own carbon footprint that is causing climate change, right? Activism is one of the ways, policy changes, working with governments, donation and philanthropy. Okay, you said, okay, thank you. So you said, oh, you have money, you don't have time, you're the CEO of your company, and you don't think you can go and be picking up trash in the environment of everybody. You don't think you want to lobby with anybody. You can donate to these causes. You can send money to NGOs or initiatives that are already doing these things, right? So these are types of climate advocacy. So what's climate justice? So according to UNDP, climate justice means putting equity and human rights at the core of decision making and action on climate change, right? So before any decision is made on climate change, we are trying to put equity and human rights at the core. That's basically what climate justice is. And that's what every environmentalist or climate advocate is trying to achieve, climate justice, right? So the concept has been widely used to refer the unequal historical responsibility that countries and communities bear in relation to the climate crisis that we're facing. So it suggests that the countries, industries, businesses, and people that have been wealthy from emitting large amounts of greenhouse gases have a responsibility to help those affected by climate change, particularly the most vulnerable countries and communities, who often are the ones that have contributed to the least, to the contributed the least to this crisis. So what that's basically saying is, let's put these high income countries on the spot, developed countries on the spot. Let's say US, for example. I'm going to show you a report soon. So let's say US, for example. US is producing 50,000 and it's causing the highest rate of carbon emissions. I'm saying, for example, it's causing the highest rate of emissions in the world, right? But because of what they are doing, we're all sharing the same sky, we're all sharing the same sun, all sharing the same moon, right? Because of what they are doing, is affecting us here in Africa, our low-income country, that we don't even have that much infrastructure. We don't even have that much, gas emissions or carbon footprints compared to them. But we're the ones getting the most affected by it, right? Because they can afford to sort of bypass the impact of climate injustice, right? Or climate change, basically. So we are going through climate injustice because of what they're doing. That's basically what it means. So we're trying to say human rights, with the people that are in these countries, these islands, that you just go there and turn their islands and their home into trash pits. There has to be justice for them, right? Because we are ruining their climate, their environment, and their lifestyle. That's basically what it is. Like I said, we are contributing most to global CO2 emissions. The US, Europe, China, Russia, India. You can see that most of these cities and these continents are basically what? The developed places, right? China is one of the 200 billion tons. USA is producing 399 billion tons of CO2. Europe is producing 353 billion. I have to look for Africa down here. South Africa is doing 19.8 billion. I don't see Nigeria on this list. Right, exactly. So you can see Pakistan, Iraq, Taiwan, Iran, Turkey, Norway. Nigeria is producing 3.4 million only, right? And we're all going through it. But we can't adjust as well as they are adjusting because they have the infrastructure, they have the means financially to be able to adjust appropriately, right? So regions affected, poor countries and regions often almost face greater risks from climate change. There are small island countries like Tuvalu and Marshall Islands. Again, there are links in the slide, so you can just watch the YouTube video of their stories where huge companies in the US or in China are coming to dump their trash in their states and they're turning their islands into trash pits, which is not ideal because people are living there, right? So many of these countries and communities bear little responsibility for cumulative greenhouse emissions driving climate change. At the same time, they have the fewest resources available to protect themselves. So, what are the 5 stages of climate advocacy? This is very important to take note of, right? Because if you want to go through advocacy at all, it doesn't even have to be climate advocacy. You want to advocate for change. You want to change the way something is, right, to something you envision it to be. The first one you want to do is obviously conduct thorough research, right? You want to know about every single thing concerning the problem that you want to solve, right? Then you identify your goals and solutions to these problems. Then you mobilize. One person cannot do it. 2 heads are always better than one. Like what kind of initiative is doing. You mobilize other people in the society in wherever you want to do the job, right? If I realize that, okay, Coca-Cola is dropping trash in my area here in Ikeja, right? I'll mobilize other people in Ikeja that are getting affected as well. People that know what the problem is and they are facing impact as well, right? Then when we do this, then we can now draw up a strategy, an advocacy strategy, which will now lead to an outcome, right? To influence an outcome. So how do you determine advocacy strategy? I'm not going to go into details with this, but you must ask these questions: how to access those in power, right? In Nigeria here, you have your local governments, then you have your states, and then you have your federal, right? So the one that is closest to us, obviously, is local government. You want to maybe go to a local government chairman. How do I want to access these people? Do I send an email? Do I call? Do I reach out to their PA? Find out how to do all of these things. Then what information interests them? What is my PA passionate about? I was trying to do a project in 2021 and I reached out to the first lady of Ogun State, right? And I had to do research on her. She was interested in women empowerment. So when I was developing my environmental strategy, I tailored it towards that because I wanted her support financially for the project we wanted to do that year. Right. So you tailor it, what interests them. They want women empowerment. No problem. We say we'll do different outreaches for women, focusing on women and stuff like that, right? You also want to find people that also have the same interest that you do too. So you don't compromise too much, but you are still coming to an outcome that you desire. Then reevaluate strategies and adapt. You need to be quick on your feet and adapt very quickly. Be persistent and be very consistent. And then, by the grace of God, you have an outcome that you desire. So there are the other methods of climate advocacy. You can do climate litigation for lawyers, for people in the law space, right? So you want to take legal action against these people. A lot of people are taking companies that are causing these things to court, right? A lot of small minority groups are hiring legal advisors and people to represent them in court. And lately, there has been a lot more, and there's been an increase in the amount of court cases concerning climate change. So that's something that we're very happy about. You want to do advocacy campaigns as well, public awareness campaigns, advocacy coalition, and lobbying. Lobbying is very, very much advised, but you're not bribing, obviously. right? You're going through the right channels, talking to your government officials. Advocacy coalition means basically that you are coming together with other people with the same goals as you do, right? You have people like Global Climate and Health Alliance, GCHA. They've brought up an organization whereby they have over 40 NGOs together that are working on climate and health. Yongo, where I work at, is a youth and children constituency of the United Nations, UNFCCC, right? Basically, it's a constituency that combines hundreds of NGOs and hundreds of young people and children all over the world, right? So we're all coming together to speak with one voice, which is much more potent and much more will lead to a lot more results and better results, right? So advocacy campaigns, what are the practical steps you can do? You can launch one campaign yourself, or you can just join and choose one climate issue that you want to advocate for. Explore and see the existing advocacy and related campaigns, and then just find the ones that appeal to you and then join them. Or you could just do one yourself and say, okay, I don't think anybody is doing what I want to do in Nigeria. I don't think anybody is doing what I want to do in Africa. Okay, let's go ahead and pick one and do one yourself, right? I'm always happy to launch. It's always good to launch. I can help you launch as well. It's not very hard. It's not that difficult. I'm sure that they would have given his story concerning this. You can do it, right? And it's never too late to start as well. So the examples, you can choose to say you want to reduce food waste, you want to reduce plastic pollution, anyone that speaks to you that you know you can handle, right? Those are campaigns you can do. So how to advocate climate policies. So why I say that I'm an advocate is that I host different capacity building sessions. I do public awareness campaigns. I'm privileged to attend international gatherings where decisions are made, and I can meet with stakeholders that would make the decision, right? Because as a young person, there's very little you can do, but there's a lot of things you can do as well, right? So when it comes to decision making, the people that are in power, a lot of women are not represented. A lot of young people are not well represented in. I'm not talking about our Nigerian power or anything. I'm talking about COP, WHA, stakeholders, these relevant international stakeholders, right? A lot of people there are, older, and they are either male, very little female distribution, right? That is getting better in recent times. Regardless of the fact, young people, when they find a seat at the table, they are doing a great job at advocacy. The people that have the chance, right? Those are the little ways that you can do. And even if you don't even have the chance to win a scholarship, or you don't have the chance to travel abroad to meet these people one-on-one, you can do public awareness campaigns in your city. I mean, look at what Khan is doing, right? They're doing capacity building trainings every single month, webinars. These webinars, I know they've helped people that have been consistent with attending. And lucky enough, I attended 2 years ago. I'm very happy that I was invited as the guest speaker today. Thank you again. So this public awareness, you can do a social media outreach. You can do community workshops and seminars. You can do climate change education programs, right? All of these things, you can just do a webinar. You can just do a seminar. You can do a workshop. You can do a panel discussion. Invite people that are willing to talk about these things, because usually you hardly find an environmentalist that will say, oh no, I can't come and speak there. You have to give me money first. Because they're always very happy to talk about their experiences. They're always very happy to share their insights concerning these topics, right? So you want to do capacity building sessions, coalition building. You notice that, okay, there are 50 NGOs talking about plastic pollution in Ogun State alone. You want to bring everybody together so they can have one voice, because you are bringing different resources, you are bringing different intelligent people together. You will definitely go further than everybody that was staying on their own, right? So you want to do media engagement. This is very, very important since we're in the tech age. Policy advocacy, that's why I mentioned that I'm making these international engagements. Even people that don't travel, in Yongo, even if you don't get to travel, we do something called the Global Youth Statement that we read at COP every year. Or we draft policy briefs and we draft policy documents. You don't have to be present. You can do it from your house, right? After thorough research, you can add your own statements to the drafts that they're doing. Like at the SBs in June, we have submitted a policy document that everybody came together to do, right? So these are things, and these are different ways that you can definitely advocate. You can take legal action, that's litigation. I already mentioned that. You can do demonstration projects, you can protest, right? Those are other activism. Those are different ways that you can advocate. So if you say you don't want to leave your house, you can do it from the comfort of your bed, of your room, your social media. If you say you want to leave your house and you want to meet people, government officials will not bite you. Send letters, send emails. There's some platforms. I hope I'll find one and share soon. There's some platforms that would allow you to just write or sign petitions. You just go through the app and scroll through, and you see petitions that are going on right now concerning climate and environmental health and sustainability. And you just have to sign your name there, right? These are the ways you can advocate, right? And you can make change. So these are some tips. I'm coming to the end of my presentation. Do not despair if you don't win now, right? If you go through a legal action or litigation and you don't win the case, don't be sad, because you did something. You definitely provided awareness concerning that problem. You communicated and networked with a lot of people. You provided opportunities for yourself, and you basically just shed light on the problem. So nobody is keeping quiet about it anymore. You can always try again, right? You need to understand the rules organizing policy change. You need to form coalitions with organizations, learn from your past experiences. And if you are just new to this and you just say, okay, I just want to try this for the first time, don't hesitate to reach out to people that have been doing this already. Learn from their experiences and just know what works, right? What do I do, and what are the systems by which I need to follow for these things to work, right? Consider those who oppose you and find solutions before they arrive. Then you want to frame the issue. You want to make sure you remember what your problem is. Don't get lost in, okay, you're going on 50 trips a year. Don't get lost in, you're meeting government officials and they're asking you to come and be their PA, or they're asking you to come and do something, they're giving you 50 million naira or stuff like that. Don't get lost. Remember your problem and remember your goals. Always be on the lookout for windows of opportunity. It's very important as a youth, right, to grow and to have access to these things. When you talk to people, when you have access to different networks, right? Always be on the lookout for more opportunities or bigger opportunities. The aim is from local to national to international, right? And then global. You want to be everywhere. You want to change things. So you want to start small, then grow continuously. So you don't want to look out and say, okay, I'm not going to go to UN, I'm not going to go to WHO, I want to do this in Nigeria alone. You are clipping your own wings, right? These are what you're doing. You can go to UN and WHO and still help people in your own city, right? I can help people all over the world. So be aware of your own impact. With this, I come to the end of my presentation. So thank you very much. Let's connect. That's my name on LinkedIn, and that's my email if you want to reach out for anything at all. So I'm taking questions now. Thank you.
Wow. That was really amazing and so rich. Thank you so much. And thank you for kind of merging two very loaded topics together, like impact of plastics and the role of youth. And that was really very excellent. Thank you for your time. Thank you for putting a lot of effort into this. So we'll go to the questions now. So please, if you have questions for Dr. Aishat, kindly you can raise your hand, you can unmute and ask questions. Yeah, please feel free. Whatever she mentioned that wasn't clear, or you want her to enlighten us more about that, or interpret into language, into a language or into terms that is easy to digest. Yeah. So I think I would start. Maybe some people are shy, but yeah, I would start. I have a concern about the youth advocacy part first. I also have questions about plastic, but the youth advocacy side. So how do we, in very, very simple terms, so two questions, how do we help youth to engage in climate advocacy by making this very simple for them? Not everyone read environmental science, environmental management. So what are the simple strategies that we can use to attract youth to get involved and to get engaged in this climate work and climate advocacy?
Okay, thank you for your question. Can you hear me? And
Yes.
okay, perfect. Um, First of all, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Okay. It's very important to note that for you to, want to influence somebody, they want to be influenced first, right? I didn't study environmental science myself. I didn't study any of these things myself, right? I was, I don't know if I was going to my story, but anyway, the point is I was opportune to be thrown into this space, right? And I had to find my bearing. And from there, I started taking courses. I started, you know, attending seminars, attending webinars, talking to people. I want to learn this. I want to do this. How can I do this? How do I learn? Right. So, in as much as we're trying to make it easier, I think you're doing a fantastic job already with these monthly webinars that you're doing. Right. Capacity building sessions are very important. Like you said, people are not really interested. People are not in that space, but some people want to do it, but they don't know how to go about it. So finding capacity building sessions rather, you want to also fundraise youth advocacy, right? Because one of the things, and that question in the comment section. Okay, so one of the things that I lost my train of thoughts now. I apologize.
You're talking about capacity building. You're trying to answer my question.
Yes, thank you. Also, one of the things that youth and challenges that we face the most is lack of money and lack of finances. And that's something we'll talk about at COP this year because this is the finance COP, right? We are young people. Okay, myself, yourself, we want to talk about these things. We already have knowledge. For example, I already dealt with people that don't have knowledge. They have to seek the knowledge to find it really, right?
Yeah.
And then what you're doing as somebody already in the space is trying to provide a path and an easier way for them to come into the system, right? The series that you want to do, you can publish books and stuff like that, like e-courses and stuff like that, right? But for people that are already there, like us, and everybody that's been attending these webinars, right? And you want to do something more, you want to do these things. How do you travel? How do you, reach out to these important stakeholders and tell them about your thoughts? It goes a long way because even in that document that we talked about, right, a lot of things had to be removed because over 10,000 young people were writing from different places in the world. So nobody knows what is choking my leg here in Lagos, Nigeria, behind my closed doors, right? Do you get? So having these platforms, having these spaces to be able to speak and talk about our own experiences is very, very important. Those are the ways that we can support, right? So I hope that's okay. That's it.
Yeah, before you take the second question, I would actually like you to, as briefly as you can, I would like you to briefly share your story with us, how a medical doctor became so passionate about environmental causes, climate change, climate advocacy. It kind of connects, but I think it's very unusual. So can you share what led to the passion or what led to you being involved in environmental advocacy?
Okay, thank you. Before I start, I have to give a shout out to you, Recycle, my favorite NGO on this world. I volunteered there now. I'm very happy and proud of that NGO. So it started in 2019, right? 2019, 5 years ago. I was just interested in I didn't like seeing things die. I didn't like seeing people die. And unfortunately I was in medicine. I didn't know what they had in store for me. I think I was in 200 level then. It was a while ago, right? And I wanted to be involved in this. I wanted to meet people. I was a social butterfly then. So I talked to one of my seniors that, oh, I'm interested in these things. Is there a national association? I said, yes, I should join. So I now became the junior environmental committee Babcock chapter. I was the junior rep, right? I didn't know what they were doing. I was just attending meetings, taking notes, and that was it, right? So fast forward to 2021, it was time for them to pick the national director, like Nigerian Medical Students Association, the person that would lead the environmental committee. I was like, oh, I have experience. Let me do that. And honestly, it was under the guidance of the Holy Spirit. There was nothing of my doing there because I did not go through elections. I did not submit my campaign to anybody. I just wrote my motivation letter. I wanted to plant trees. I wanted to provide more information about environmental health. And that was it, right? I still did not know I didn't know what I was getting myself into, really, if I'm being honest. But the Holy Spirit was like, yeah, because there were options on the table. I was a 500 level at this time,
Oh.
4, 5 years. And they were like, do you want to do medical education? Do you want to? I was like, oh, yeah, environmental health. I already have experience in that from, right? And then they picked me. And then I had to now go and pray. Say, God, what do you want me to do with this role?
Nice.
are the things that you need? I was already there. And I started drafting my plan. I looked at the previous officer's plan. I was like, okay, this makes sense. And with that year, we completed 11 projects by the grace of God. God was faithful. We did 2 major projects. Where we did Project Green Earth, we did a 5-day outreach program where we had planted trees in over 12 states in Nigeria. And it was an experience, right? So during that year, I started applying. My eyes now opened. That was where it started. My eyes opened. I had to invite professionals to come and speak. And when they were speaking and I was moderating these sessions, I was taking notes, and I still have my notes today. I was taking notes, I was asking questions, I was reaching out to them after, trying to join their organizations and stuff like that. Right. So somebody was like, oh, you're national director, apply for this. And I applied for the AY for a fellowship, that's African Youth for the Environment Fellowship under You Recycle Initiative. And they opened my eye.
Wow.
Oh my God, they changed my life. And I went through the master class and I was picked as a fellow representing Ogun State. So I had to, do the whole fellowship with having to train 1,000 high school students on plastic pollution. So before I could train somebody else, they had to train me. So it was that training that completely changed my life and opened my eyes to everything about environmental health. From there, I started taking courses. I started attending webinars, seminars. I was like, okay, this is beyond Nigeria. This is international. I attended the World Health Assembly last year. And so like that, I started growing and I started seeking. I was always seeking, always asking, you guys, this is it. I'm free now. Please, do you have any jobs for me? I'm reaching out to anybody. They say no. The most they can say is no. And I'm moving. Okay, I don't qualify for this, but I'm going to try anyway. The Holy Spirit guidance. Holy Spirit, right? I just want to tell you, okay, do that, and I'm doing that, and some ones don't work, but he wants me to learn from the experience of applying. So I'm better at applying for opportunities. The ones that do work, I don't take them for granted. I'm working, right? I'm working, and I'm working hard at it. I'm even working on the job a lot of times, right? And I'm just trying to, fill up the gaps, and God is helping. So that's basically how I entered this space, and I've been working.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and thank you for acknowledging the place of God and the Holy Spirit. Plan also is a direction of the Holy Spirit. So yeah, thank you for sharing that part of your story. Okay, so let's go to the questions. I think there's a question from Mayoga, Mr. Mayoko, in the chat.
Oh, that's so. She mentioned it about that too.
Yeah. It says, would you support a total plastic ban in Nigeria, considering our realities, and why? For your response.
I feel like it should happen in stages. I think it should happen in stages. I definitely support it 100%. Considering our realities, yes, we'll manage, we'll adapt. We're Africans, we're Nigerians, we're stubborn. But I think it should happen in stages. We should first of all introduce alternatives for people, right? I'll take, for example, Babcock. Babcock has totally banned styrofoam plastic before Lagos State did it, right? So the thing is that Babcock Cafeteria is a private university. So in our cafeteria, you just come, drop your ticket and pick your food and leave, right? So we had mentioned it when I was there to some of the people that the top men, right, in management, and we mentioned that this is a problem. You guys, you're doing a lot of class because you're doing breakfast, lunch, and supper for over 10,000 students, and you're producing that amount. You're not producing for everybody, but let's say 6,000 every day. It is not sustainable for you to continue doing this, right? So they had done that, and when they did that, they were kind enough. They gave everybody 6 spoons for 3 months for the semester. They were plastic though, but they gave away 6 spoons because before me, when I was there, I used to carry like 20. I'll carry 1 pack into my bag, and I'll leave because I'm going for outside posting. I don't want to collect spoon from anybody that I don't know. So I have to, and iron spoons are not allowed in school because of threat to life and stuff like. So it has to be plastic spoons. So I have to pack a lot. So they now make sure, first of all, you can only use 6, right? So you can only use 6 spoons for the entire season. So if you lose anyone, that's the end of it. Then secondly, they now turned it into coolers. They get ready coolers. When you're coming with your tickets, bring your cooler. If you don't have cooler, you can't even use a nylon because they don't even use that. They give them tote bags after. Tote bags, the coolers, and their 6 spoons for the semester. Right. So if you lose any of that, you're on your own. So them, they reduce the distribution and the use of plastics. That has not happened with the businesses though, but the business are not using styrofoam anymore, which is a good step. So if we're going to do that in Nigeria, first of all, introduce alternatives, do the right awareness campaigns and distribution to every society. Not that you just suddenly come and ban without putting people's, excuse me, so sorry about that, without people putting people's lifestyles and their, well-being into consideration. So yes, I totally support it. We should completely ban plastic. I don't think it's something we need. A lot of countries have done it and they are doing it, and we can do it as well. Right. For our PET bottles, I can't remember the country, the European country, they reuse their PET bottles. When you're done drinking, you take it back. It's like a vending machine. You return the vending machine, they'll give you money for the PET bottles. Right. And they have a number on it. I mean that they've used those PET bottles. After a certain number of time, they won't use it again. These are sustainable ways that we can adapt in Nigeria. So yes, I think we can.
Nice, nice. Thank you for the answer. I hope she answered your question, Boss Mayoko. I hope that's fine. Yeah. Any other questions before we wrap up for today? If you have, we can still take one or two more questions. Okay. He says thank you very much. Any question, comments, not only questions, if you have like comments, suggestions or thoughts before we close for this month's webinar. It's been a very insightful one. Yeah, I learned and I was blessed. Yeah, many packages in one. I learned about plastics, youth advocacy, climate advocacy, and also the Holy Spirit. So thank you, Aishat, for the whole full package. Any questions before we call it a day? Okay, if there are no more questions, first we thank our guests for making it, for honoring our invitation to be our speaker for today. Thank you so much for this very rich, wonderful, excellent, and insightful presentation. And to all our participants for today, Gift, Kenisha, Bosmayo Kun, Joy, Temitope, Mr. Victor. Thank you, Sheol. Thank you, members of Clan. Yeah, this was a very, very good one. And we hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. It's morning here in Seattle, Washington, so I'm just starting my own day. So, yeah. And people in Nigeria, West Africa, have a wonderful rest of your evening and see you next month. See you in the month of August. It's going to be another wonderful session. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining. Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Aishat. Yeah.